The content discussed in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or mortgage advice. Always consult with a licensed professional before making any decisions regarding mortgages or financial matters.
Welcome to the Canadian Mortgage Show. Here are mortgage professionals Alex Pang and Alex Shanks to cut through the BS and educate Canadians on all things mortgages and real estate.
Many mortgagors would struggle to buffer their full mortgage payments, especially if relying on liquid assets alone, says the Bank of Canada. Now, financial assets could only partially buffer income losses. And when we get into this, like what they're going to be talking about here is, for one, obviously, if people lost their jobs, most people do not have any liquid savings. The more people I talk to do not have contingency funds, and they're living check to check.
Welcome to episode 58 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. Alex Pang here alongside my co-host, Alex Shanks. Alex, how are you?
Doing pretty good, but if anyone's looking at the video here, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a ghost. I don't think I should look this way, but damn, when you're looking at Alex, his fair skin compared to mine, holy shit, I need to go on vacation and get some sun here.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, I don't think I'm that tan compared to you. And I noticed that your light's like super bright or whatever.
I'm going to go to the yellow color. We're going to go to this color. This color is nicer. That other one was pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, just on the production side, I actually have two lights back here that's showing on different angles. Maybe I look so shiny and stuff. But yeah, I mean, hey, hockey season's back. Your Leafs won their first game. Canucks are playing right now. They're actually on in the background. So if you see me looking off, I'm not paying attention. I'm watching the game. But yeah, hockey season's back. Canucks just scored.
There you go. We saw each other in person again last week. I think it was a 19-hour day for me, leaving my house at 5 a.m., catching the ferry, hanging out in Vancouver. Me and Alex went to a mortgage conference, got to hang out with a bunch of people. We had dinner with another mortgage broker, which was just awesome. And then I had to hang out until 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. at night to catch the ferry back and then drive home. So it was a long day.
I've said this before. It's the drawback of living in a cheaper area. So, I mean, you have to travel in and I mean, to be fair, Alex could have stayed a day, but he's too cheap or didn't want to stay over at my house. And
I wanted to get back for my wife and my kids. That's if it, my son was sick all week. My wife had to take care of them. So I was like, I got to get home to alleviate that way. I would have loved it. I would have just stayed in a hotel by myself. It would have been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good conference and my head was exploding. And before the recording of this pod, Alex and I were shooting the breeze on, some ideas to implement in our business and our workflows and all that stuff. So yeah, just looking forward to it. It's, the weather is colder, like summer's obviously over, and it's almost like we're back to work kind of thing. Like, for us in the business, we're always working, but we don't really have excuses now because the weather out is terrible. And so, this is kind of when businesses are back and conferences are, happening and everyone's, wearing warmer clothes and stuff. You know what? Funny enough, my wife actually really loves the fall because she actually enjoys putting on jackets and sweaters and layering and all that stuff. And I guess it's more of a fashion kind of thing for ladies there.
One thing I like, I go outside my office. I have a backyard office fully separate, but I always just go outside and I walk whenever I'm on a phone. But like I usually bring out my sandals. And so right now when I'm walking outside, it's like, ooh, my feet are cold.
I have a friend who wears sandals all year long. He's a realtor and he wears his North Face parka and shorts and flip-flops. I'm like, okay, buddy. Kind of weird, but I guess he's
flip-flops with socks. Does he wear his flip-flops with socks?
No, wow. He's flip-flops straight up.
I mean, I wear flip-flops and Crocs with socks all the time, and that's just,
oh man.
And to be a diver, that's what you would live on the boat. And so it's so funny. I mean, I remember when the first pair of Crocs I ever bought, they were like $10. Those things are like $50 now because they're like a fashion statement. But back in the day, those things were like junk for divers.
I feel like the fashion today now with the young kids is back in the day where like I would be caught doing that. It's like socks and sandals is such a fashion faux pas, but now the kids are making it cool with their monochrome sweat sweatpants and sweat. I'm like, you guys look like bums, and they're spending $100 at Aritzia for a sweatshirt. I'm like, my goodness.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it because that was my socks don't usually match all that often, and I wear long johns all the time. And yeah, fashion for me is I try and dress a little bit nicer. But yeah, fashion's never been a thing for me.
Yeah, sounds good. We have a big show. Let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
The president and CEO of the Urban Development Institute, Anne McMullen, said, "We can no longer build what people can afford." Surprise, surprise. So, I mean, industry professionals have been saying unbought condos could lead to big layoffs. And I believe we might have reported it or mentioned it. There's 2,500 unsold condos in, was it the Greater Vancouver or Toronto? I don't remember.
No, I think it was in Vancouver.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, unsold, just sitting. And adding on to that, the president of Rennie, which is one of the big real estate marketing firms in the Greater Vancouver, Greg Zayati, said that developers have to understand that people who are spending $800,000 for a condo, that's how much it costs for a condo in downtown Vancouver. Probably the same in downtown Toronto as well.
Yep.
It's only going to get them a 450 to 500 square foot condo.
It's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. Where you are in the Comox Valley, Alex, 800,000 will probably get you a house.
Well, you're
home.
No, you're getting a house, like no questions. I mean, there's expense, like stuff is going up here for sure. But I mean, condos, it's honestly condos are more like you could buy a condo, a 2-bedroom here, and it's about 750, but you can get a house for 700,000 too.
That just doesn't make sense. So, I mean, I'm quoting Greg here, Greg Zayati. He's saying we need to get to a point where we can deliver inventory as an industry, as a province, at $700 to $900 a square foot.
Yeah,
that's $200 to $300 above like where the market is today. So, I mean, like current market is more like 900 to 1,100 a square foot, but it's not selling. So, and developers, they need to at least turn a profit or the very worst break even.
Yeah.
And there's a big gap there where, things are being unsold. People are looking at 700 to 900, but it can get them something that they're not. So there's a whole lot of glut moving in. I mean, most of the unsold condos in the Lower Mainland are Burnaby, Coquitlam, and parts of Surrey. So,
and I mean,
here's one that you should talk about next that you've been always talking about. I'll let you take this, Alex.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a crazy stat, and I mean, there's going to be a lot of people maybe moving to this province. Is it's now cheaper to buy than rent in Ottawa based on a monthly payment, which if we go back, if you're looking at this, we'll make sure it's up on the screen in the video. So it's actually now cheaper to buy than rent in Ottawa based on a monthly payment. Now, we can go to a lot of different places with the run-ups and COVID and everything. Home prices, mortgages all skyrocketed, and it has not been cheaper to actually own than rent for a while in certain areas. In this case, you'll be able to see it on the sheet here. We go back, the monthly rent is in red, and we're now going, and the rent's actually going to get higher than owning a home again, which normally the last few years, it has been cheaper to rent than to own. But if you go in the past, it was cheaper to actually own than rent. Now, if you go to Vancouver, that's not the case in Vancouver. It is going to be cheaper. Let's talk about that $800,000 condo. You buy it, and let's even pretend you put a 20% down payment. It is going to be cheaper to rent that thing than it is to buy it. And that's why, like they're saying, that the numbers don't work. For one, investors don't want them. The appreciation, the game of buying it and flipping it is gone. And that's where in these places, and Ottawa is going to have a better, to me, that is a market I would want to invest in, knowing that, hey, for one, I can actually buy a place. I'm going to get good rents on it because rents are going up there. Other places, rents are going down, where it's actually nice to see the rents are going up there. But it's also really cool to see that someone's going to be able to buy a home at the same price as renting. I hope more people get to do that, because that was the case probably for me and you, Alex.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is especially useful too, that Ottawa is it's government. And up until like recently, like it's this, you're not going to get laid off. Like you pretty have safe employment if you work for the government. Now up until recently, now that the government is kind of like cutting back, I mean, even the government is facing some layoffs as well. But for the most part, working for government is relatively, it's stable compared to working in the private sector. So this is actually kind of encouraging here. Now, will this ever happen in Vancouver or Toronto again? I don't know. It doesn't sound likely anytime soon.
The only way it sometimes can happen is if you buy a place that has 1 suite, 2 suites, is if you get the rental income and then you look at your cost. Many times you can actually get your monthly cost cheaper than having to rent that same place. Like that's where I helped a couple today. They're going to build a new home at a rental suite. And I show them, hey, if they even just rent it for $1,800, which is lower than the market rents, it's going to only cost them $1,300 to own a brand new house that they build, which is like that's bonkers.
Yeah, that was the case for us when we bought this place that we live in now. We decided to spend the extra 150 grand to get the house with the 2 rental suites, because after you figure in the rental income, our net was lower than a cheaper house with no basement suite. We actually saved like an extra $1,000 a month, getting the more expensive house with the basement suites. Now, of course, the drawback is, of course, you're a landlord, you don't have the whole house to yourself anymore. But on a month-to-month basis, it helped us, which allowed us to live in here, to be honest.
I just feel like there's such a, and this is, I mean, there's just there, I think it was a game of telephone of people that said having a rental is a bad thing. I mean, there is for sure, like there's bad renters out there, there's bad landlords. The news does a really bad job about it. And we know, hey, people don't want to own rentals because they're so scared that they're not going to be able to kick the person out. I would put money 8 times out of 10, like that's not the real story. That is the news pushing out the worst case stories. I own rentals. I know other people. I help people that own rentals. The worst thing that has ever happened is someone has damaged a washing machine, damaged some paint on the house. That's all minor tear. Like most people will never take care of the house as good as you. When we used to leave rentals, like when I lived in Vancouver with my wife at school, the person was like, "Oh my God, you clean this place?" And they're like, "What do you mean? Why wouldn't?" They're like, "Oh, anyone that used to leave, like would leave our rental, didn't clean it." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like you gave it to me kind of cleaned. I'm going to make sure it's even cleaner when I leave it." Now, that's not the case for everyone. Most of the time, I've always had to clean my rentals a bit better, but I think that's just how people are. But you can own a rental, have a suite, and I promise you people, it will be fine.
Yeah. I think the problem is the stories that we hear in the media are the extreme cases, and it sours it for everyone else. I would say 95% of renters and the landlord experience is good. Like same thing for us. Because of the rental, like the tenant protection laws in BC, in order to avoid the problems, you kind of, as a landlord, you have to screen properly up front, because once they're in, they're hard to get out. So how do you avoid the problem is screen properly. For us, it's almost like how we underwrite a mortgage file. Get a pay stub, reference letter, call those references, and then we pull their credit as well. And in our case, we asked to pull a criminal record check. Now, if somebody refuses or doesn't want to consent to it, then they essentially have something to hide, and they sort themselves out. So, landlords, again, we've beat this dead horse many a times. You can avoid the problems if you do proper screening up front. It's better to wait to find the right renter than to hurry to find, like, to fill it right away to get that extra month of income. It's 100%. Better to miss that month payment and have to pay it out of pocket, and to find the right one than to. It's going to cost you a lot more than 1 month rent to kick out a bad renter. I tell you that.
And exactly. I think the biggest issue is people not doing that due diligence up front. Now let's talk about this. Like, we talked about the sale prices of condos in Vancouver there, but I mean, world apartment prices like Hong Kong. Oh my God, just towering above everyone else per square foot in the U.S. dollars here, 2,654. Tokyo is the next one at 1,618. Like, I mean, like again, we talk about our prices thinking like we're very expensive in Vancouver and Toronto, which they're on this list. I mean, we're nowhere near that. Like that is just, again, so different than where we are.
Yeah, so I mean, it shows Vancouver further down on the list, apartment prices dollar per square foot in US dollars, and it shows us at 747
Yeah, I would think we're 11th on the list
20.
there. Yeah, 11th, and then
Yes.
Toronto's 12th, and then yeah, I mean those.
Yeah.
And I mean, we got Hong Kong's first, Tokyo, New York City, London, Boston, Paris, San Francisco. I'm actually surprised Boston's up higher there. That way, I didn't think it would be that high. Then Paris, San Francisco, Stockholm, Sydney, Berlin, and then Vancouver and Toronto. And I mean, you can
Yes.
see it. Those are it's. I mean, it's got this very sharp, and then it's more of like
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, this graph is showing two-bedroom apartments and condos. What this graph doesn't account for is the relative income
yeah.
of these cities. So this is why Hong Kong, Sydney, and Vancouver are the top three least affordable. Is because yes, on a dollar basis we are cheaper, but the relative income to be able to afford that is lower than Hong Kong and Sydney, whereas the income earned is higher, and so those rents command higher. So the relative affordability is that's what props up Vancouver as being one of the least affordable in the world.
Yeah, totally. And that's, yeah, I mean, and again, it's people working at Starbucks and stuff that it's just, for one, they can't even afford a place. And I mean, they're living on consumer debt.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, next up here, Oxford Economics is saying that, we are kind of in a period right now where mortgage rates are trending downwards, but it's not gonna be forever. There's gonna be a point where there's kind of the terminal rate, and if you see on the video side here, we're kind of in this kind of nearing the trough area, but once we are there, it will come back up. Now, usually it comes back up because the economy recovers, right? And I could only see that once we have settled the tariff situation, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, like when I look at this chart though, like right now it's already off. Like if you look at this, it's got the 5-year conventional rate, and it's saying at the moment that it is higher than a variable rate, which is not the case. The fixed rates are still a tiny bit lower than a variable rate, and that's where I would take this very much with a grain of salt. I do think I for sure think in 3 years we may see interest rates up higher. Now, do I think we're going to go to 5-6%? No, I think we're going to sit around 4%. That's where I think we've realized the healthy market is. Are we going to go lower for a bit right now? Probably, but then it's going to go back up.
yeah, I totally see. Like we've said before, it'll get worse before it gets better. So getting worse for the economy means good for interest rates. Now, hopefully, the getting worse part doesn't mean you lose your job. Like there will be job loss, but hopefully you will still be employed that you can take advantage of the low rates. So there's always a double-edged sword to anything. Like, hey, it's good news for rates, but not so good for the economy. So
Yeah, and that's where we get into this with many mortgagers would struggle to buffer their full mortgage payments, especially if relying on liquid assets alone, says the Bank of Canada. Now, financial assets could only partially buffer income losses. And when we get into this, like what they're going to be talking about here is, for one, obviously, if people lost their jobs, most people do not have any liquid savings. The more people I talk to do not have contingency funds, and they're living check to check. If anything happens, they're not going to be able to make their mortgage payments if someone does lose their job, which is I always recommend, especially when we're saying pushing someone higher above their qualifying. Hey, what happens? Like, how secure is your job? Like, especially when we were talking about tariffs in the last little bit, I was talking to people that were like car salesmen of like, should we really be pushing your limit here? Like, what happens if you're not able to sell as many cars? Like, yes, your income's exceptional today, but what happens if that changes? And that's where I feel like, for one, as mortgage professionals, we have fiduciary duty to give our clients the best options. But I think we also have a duty to make sure that we're not putting them into a bad place. And that's where I will talk about it of like, hey, I can qualify you for this. It's great to say you qualify, but what does it actually look like on a monthly basis?
yeah, exactly. Like most of the time we get clients always pushing the needle, pushing like, can I qualify for more? Qualify for more. That means you're going to have a higher mortgage payment. And I tell my clients all the time, like when we pre-approve them, here's the edge of the cliff number.
Yep.
This is if you use all your savings, and we've accounted for, like, let's say you have like 200 grand. We use 180 as a down because you need that 20,000 for closing costs.
Yep.
You're going to have no money left for furniture, for whatever, because you're probably upgrading to another place, and like you have more room, so you're going to need to have a bedroom set. As long as wherever we go, it could be anywhere from 5 to 10 grand a bedroom, right? If you include all that stuff. Like, just because you qualify for it doesn't mean you should. And you should always look at your budget too. What does it mean on a day-to-day basis? Like, are you going to be able to live comfortably? Are you going to be house rich and cash poor? Like, yeah, we can get you in this place, but man, you're not going to go on vacation, right? Like, unless, you're going to eat ramen instant noodles all the time now. Like, your life is going to be severely affected unless you pick up a part-time job to maintain that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, we can't answer this for you folks, but you also need to have some, financial literacy. That
when I sit with people and the budgets I make for them, and then I'm like, hey, now I've given you your household budget. You need to go look at like what you're spending. I do get them most time to go do like, hey, what are you spending on groceries? What are you spending on that? Most of the time people have a good idea. At least they're ready for that budget. Some people come back like, I can't buy the house right now. I didn't realize we were spending X amount of money over here. If we did this, we would be negative money. And that's where it's, again, it's always great to say you can qualify for something. That's the first part of the puzzle. It's like, what does it look like after?
Yeah. And then like dealing with clients too, who are like wanting to get a place because, they want to start a family, and, just talking with the clients like, hey, once your wife goes on mat leave, she's going to go down to 55%, and your income, like your expenses, don't go down 55 go down 45% when she's on mat leave when you have a kid. If anything, it goes up. And it's very common for people to go into debt that year. The one spouse takes parental leave. So, don't go all in. Have some sort of buffer to help tie you over for that year. Now, some companies have like, you might be blessed enough that they will top you up to 95% or whatever it is, but not for the whole year, maybe for like 4 months or so. But understand those kind of things. Like, will you be able to handle it during a period of less income and such? So, yeah, you have to kind of look at your own budgeting as well. Now, we're next up here.
We're the Doom and Gloom podcast here today, Alex.
What's that?
We're the Doom and Gloom podcast here today.
Yeah. So the next up here, according to BMO, the Canadian real estate market right now is resembling the U.S. housing bubble of 2007. And if you look at the kind of the video side on YouTube here, the U.S. 2007 is this orange line here, and then this is mostly Ontario, but Canadian real estate is following the same kind of trend line here. And so, what does that tell you? Does it mean, like, of course, if things, we're kind of in the middle of a correction right now, but we know it won't last forever. It'll eventually recover and come back up. So
now the thing for me,
take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, we can't compare the US to Canada for one. Like, our guidelines for mortgages have always been stricter than the US already. I mean, it's easier to get a mortgage in the US still today. Like, you can finance up to 105%. Don't show any income, you can still qualify. In Canada, we got away from some of that from 2008 and everything. But it's always been stricter. And that's where, yes, we have mortgage fraud, people not really be able to qualify for what they had. But like the financial crisis in there was people with 5 different homes that had 0 income. They should never have had these homes and mortgages. And that is like really what brought in the collapse, and banks saying that, oh, these mortgages were good. They were not good lenders and everything. And that's where, yes, I think the home prices in some areas to me are way too high, which we've seen, and they've come down. I would say Toronto, especially on like condos, there's probably more room for it to keep coming down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just, it is kind of, it correlates, but doesn't mean it's going to follow the same trajectory. It may or may not. It just depends on different factors. Like what Alex has said, like the U.S. system was built on greed, to be honest, where they had people that had no business, and they offered these kind of teaser rates where you in the beginning you paid like what 1.5% for the first 18 months, but then afterwards it gets jacked up to 4.5%, something like that. And people got qualified on the teaser rate, something like that. I'm not.
I mean, we have
too sure.
We do have some of those even in our market. Like, let's talk about Alex. There's rates that for people to know that there's interest rates that you can see at 2.99 today. And you might be like, oh my God, why is my bank offering me 4%, the 2.99? It's for 6 months. And then you have to go at their higher premium rate, which if you compare it today would be at 5% compared to a 4% rate. So you got 2.99 for 6 months. Well, then for the next 5 years, you got to take 5%. The math will tell you right now, you would rather have 4% the entire time.
Yeah, folks, there is no free lunch.
No.
Read the fine print, read what the whole stipulation in. I mean, like developers now are getting creative because they're having trouble selling their units. They may offer to buy down the interest rate and like these kind of incentives instead of a cashback, or instead of like, they're going to throw a lot of stuff at you. And some developments do offer to subsidize the interest rate on the mortgage. So do read the fine print. Just because they're offering it, I mean, it might attract you, but what if the development is piece of crap? Like, I don't care if the interest rate 3%. If this building is laden with problems, I don't care if it's cheap. It's garbage no matter what. So always read the fine print and always look what's behind the curtain.
Yeah, totally. And that's now we're talking about rents again here. And it's again, like you see it on the news right now, asking rents are falling again, and they fell in Canada here at 3.2% in September. This was the 12th consecutive month year over year on declines. And now this followed a 38 consecutive month of rent increases between August 2021 and September 2024. There was like some increases, decreases in that time period, but we're actually like on the negative, which is, again, I don't mind that. Like I want to know that people are paying cheaper rent, which some of the rents out there are just like nuts. Even I don't know, in my town, for a townhouse paying $3,000 a month. I remember my first mortgage I got, it was $1,600 a month. That same thing is now $3,000 a month to rent, like, which is just crazy.
Yeah. This kind of correlates, if you look at the graph here, it correlates around the time when we had mass immigration as well.
Yep.
We brought in 1 million like temporary foreign workers, new immigrants a year, and we didn't have the building. We didn't build enough to house them. And when demand exceeds supply, then guess what? Rents go up, property prices go up, everything goes up. And couple that with cheap interest rates at the time, it was like a perfect storm during COVID. Like this is kind of like the fallout now, where it's dropped because we have a ton of supply and people are selling and putting it on rental, and the taps of immigration has been turned off.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a function of that as well. So going into the next thing here, by Urbanation, purpose-built rental projects. 65% of landlords are offering incentives now. So I'm sure, like, everyone is struggling. So if you're a renter out there, there's a deal to be had.
Yeah.
So there's options for you. Yeah.
And that's where, I hope you get to do that. Now, we love talking about the government, which, hey, it's nice to have a job in the government, but I mean, according to the Fraser Institute, 21.5% of working Canadians work for the government, federal, provincial, local. Like, I mean, that's a high number. That to me, it just seems a little crazy.
3 levels of government, whether it's federal, provincial, local, 1 in 5 work for the public sector, and the public sector doesn't contribute to the economy. It's just administrative. So, and the stats from 2024 show that government employees on average make 4.8% more in salary than comparative colleagues in the private sector, because people work for the government, they work in a union, and they want to demand higher wages, whereas in the private sector, it's not unionized and likely it's not as high. Now they retire 2.2 years earlier and miss 6.4 more days of work for personal reasons. Why? Because they have sick time. They have all these, probably RSP or pension contribution things. So the likelihood of being able to do that is higher than someone in the private sector who don't have those kind of benefits. So
Yes.
now, as for job security, public sector workers have 5 times fewer job losses than the private sector. So,
Yes.
and they count for 2.3 times more likely to have a pension guaranteeing their income in retirement, as less so than the private sector. So,
Yes.
I mean, this is not news, but this is like we need to reduce our bloat in the public sector, whether provincial, federal,
Unless they can
local.
prove that they're doing something to make things better, like if more things were happening. But I mean, again, we talk about it. I don't feel that anything has gotten better or faster.
Yeah, there's no accountability, right? Like government is not treated like a business. The ones who are fantastic, like, let's just for example, like Mayor West from Port Coquitlam that we interviewed about a month ago. Yes, he's treating like the city is like a business where you need to, if you want these services, you need to bring in more money or you need to cut costs. Like there's a fine balancing act. You don't want to put your citizens in debt that you'll have to pay for, decades to come, and it'll affect the future generations. So other things here, we're going into more political stuff here. Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, has proposed an oil pipeline. You probably heard it in the news, to run through BC, so we can sell oil globally. Now, also gotten support from Scott Moe, the Premier of Saskatchewan. But here in BC, our Premier David Eby is blocking it, and he is not supporting it. Now, on top of that, the head of the group representing First Nations in BC says they won't support it either. So as much as we want to, as a nation, want to grow this, it's like we're doing this to ourselves. Right?
No, I mean, I will put money on this. If the First Nations can own it, I would put money that they would say yes to it. I would put money on it that they would allow it. Now, again, just for people to know, and I always find this interesting, and maybe I'll ask you this, Alex. Do you know like how many pipelines actually run in through Vancouver? Do you think there's pipelines there? Do we like any oil refineries? Is there anything in your backyard that way?
No, if there were, they were closed down a long time ago.
There's 3 pipelines that run through Vancouver.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you got the Trans Mountain pipeline that runs like,
okay.
We already have oil going to globally from there. You got Trans Mountain, you have the Suncor pipeline, you have natural gas. You go to Burnaby, they have a refinery in their backyard. You have the oil plants all up there. I mean, I like to call you guys all Vancouverites, but I know, Alex, you're in Surrey. But the people there, like they think there's stuff that's not even happening, and they don't realize it's in their backyard. And that's where I always find it very interesting that way. And that's where, again, there's already these pipelines there. They already have the corridor for it. Why would you not do a better one again, so we can stop sending so much shit to the US? Because most of our stuff comes in, they take care of it here, and then we ship it down to the US. Let's send it elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we need to start refining stuff back home and selling it to the States at a discount so they can refine it and they can flip it for a profit. Like, we should be one of the richest nations in the world, next to Saudi Arabia or the Middle East. But we're just getting in our own way with bureaucracy.
Now, the problem, like our oil is a lot more expensive to refine and even get out of the ground than in Saudi Arabia and stuff. Like there's you can drill a hole in the ground and it spews out of it. Ours, it is a lot harder to deal with. But again, yes, like we could be doing so much more. Even like we are starting to do more with the natural gas, but now you can't even, they don't even want natural gas in houses now. It's like, well, yes, we want to be greener and everything, but what do we want? Do we all want to just go back and live in the dark age? No lights. We won't have lights anymore. Maybe that will be the way to do it. We should probably use our resources in a way to supplement other areas.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, even like this goes on beyond politics too. Like Enbridge, they're one of the biggest, like, they're an energy giant in Canada. The Enbridge CEO says Canada is standing in its own way of becoming an energy superpower, and we've long talked about this on the pod. Greg Ebel, he's the Enbridge CEO. He's saying that Canada has the tools to dominate the global energy landscape with supplies of uranium, natural gas, oil, and gold. Surprise, surprise. We have everything set up. The only thing that's stopping us is ourselves. And we've said it all the time. So what needs to happen? Is it like everyone, there's too many chefs in the kitchen. It's almost like we need to come into agreement, and maybe people are saying no because they want a piece of the pie. That's probably it, right?
Yeah. And that's where, like, when we worked on the Trans Mountain, I did a lot of work on the old pipeline that was built in the 1950s. I worked on a lot of pipelines in Alberta and Ontario. That is some of the best, cleanest pipeline I've ever seen. It was done back in the day. It was in some of the most, like, the hardest terrain ever. They did a lot of work and due diligence on it, but now they don't want to build another one. It's like, we can make really good pipelines. Like, we have the best safety standards anywhere, but hey, you know what? We'll let it go to the US. We'll let it go somewhere else, and their safety standards will not be upkept.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, some things that are in the way is, we had an oil tanker ban, then we canceled the Northern Gateway pipeline back in 2016. Now, the tanker ban that I found out here only impacts Canadian products, not American. Now, Americans can ship all they want along the coast here in BC, while Canadian products are restricted. All I can say is WTF. Why is that? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, we're cowtailing to, our neighbors down south. Of course, they can destroy us at any moment, but like, why can we not help ourselves? Like, I don't know. We go in circles about this, but I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon.
No, I mean, I don't think until again, we don't have a left and a right, we have a middle of where we can all understand, like, hey, yes, obviously we all don't want to be taking everything from the earth. We don't want to live on pipeline forever. We don't have the infrastructure to switch over to electricity fully. Like, that's not going to be possible. The other one, to me, that would make more sense would be nuclear, but then everyone's too scared of nuclear.
Yeah.
Everyone cares about all they want is clean energy. Nuclear is the cleanest thing out there, but we don't want that. So we have to find another way until we come out with a new stuff, and we go back to the batteries and everything. We're just devastating other countries to say that we're being cleaner in our country.
Yeah, exactly. And, in the meantime, like China is largely powering their energy by coal. And we know that's killing the environment,
Yeah.
right? Like, we could do the best we
I
can.
would put money on it that, and I mean, maybe we should put a timestamp on this. I bet you in 5 years, I would say China will either be running solely on nuclear or electric, like their own electricity grids that way. I think they will be able to get away from coal, and they'll be so further advanced than any of us because they've used products. Yes, they're destroying the environment today, but they're also trying to make stuff better. They're kind of biding their time. I don't think they should be using coal. We should be sending them natural gas. There's other ways to do it that way. But I bet you in 5 years they'll be more advanced than we in the US are. 100%.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and even they're kind of spearheading not using lithium batteries anymore for the EVs. Instead using sodium ion. And sodium ion, folks, if you haven't taken chemistry, it's salt. And I'm sure you could extract it using ocean water somehow or whatever. It's more readily available than lithium, which needs to be mined in like South America, like Argentina or wherever, which has decimated the ecosystem there. Now, yeah, like, why
Now this is
so backwards in North America? Like,
where you really get into a tinfoil hat, Alex. I watched this one video on a thorium reactor, where if you had a thorium reactor, like, you could have tiny, like, stations. It's not radioactive, and Supposedly they were back in, I think it was like the 70s. They almost had it ready to go. Then the guy was murdered. And they said that it was from the big oil and gas companies. And I mean, that's where most of the green companies are actually funded by oil and gas companies. Because hey, if they can't supply it as much as anymore, they're not going to make money from supply. They're going to make the money from the demand. And so, hey, yeah, we're trying to make everything greener. Don't worry, we're going to make it greener. But hey, your price is now $300 more than it used to be.
Yeah, that's why like you think there's competition, but not really.
No,
It's
their
like
competition is together. They're talking about, hey, okay, we'll do this time, and then you do this time.
yeah. So like let's just say for instance like the beverage industry like pop or Americans call it soda. Like there's a lot of soft drinks like ginger ale, Coke, Sprite, 7 Up. They're all owned by two companies, Coke or Pepsi. Nestea is owned by Coke, whatever. All these things are owned by Pepsi or Coke as the whole conglomerate. That's basically the same thing when it comes to oil and gas. It's like, yeah, they're spearheading like, wind and solar, but they're owned by the oil companies, right? Because if they feel like they're losing market share, well, then they're gonna fund and invest in those as well, just to make it look like there's competition, but really it's not.
No, again, we'll probably get a Netflix series out talking about stuff, when they always come out of, hey, that wasn't true. And that's where, yeah, you get the conspiracy out there, and some of it's true, some of it's not. You never know what to believe out there. But yeah, I think we could be doing a lot more stuff, on our stuff in Canada, and promoting Canadian that way.
Absolutely. And you know what? In the meantime, right now, we're not doing ourselves any favors because there's a lot of strikes happening right now in Canada.
Yep.
Canada Post is on strike. Here in BC, the liquor board is on strike. So shelves are getting dry. If you're going to restaurants, they're running out of alcohol to serve and wines that they're running out of. Other like unions are on strike as well. Like, what's going on? I don't know. Just everyone wants more money, but we don't have money to give. So
yeah,
I don't know. So before we wrap up, Alex and I wanted to touch on things that are like real life situations. We wanted to segment here talking about case studies on successful mortgages that we had or solutions that we provided. And I've talked about this earlier in the summer, about a month or so ago, about the current state of the real estate market right now, where there's a lot of listings because people want to sell. The only problem is there's not that many buyers right now, and the consumer confidence is kind of low, to be honest with you, right? Unemployment is up. Like, people are scared about the tariffs. People are worried about job security. So not that many people are buying. What it has created is a buyer's market. Now, there's a lot of opportunity. What a buyer's market means is there are less buyers than there are listings to snatch up. So if you're a buyer, you're in a power position. Now, people who are needing to sell in order to either upgrade or downgrade, they can't sell because no one's buying their property unless they deeply discount their home. And it may not work for people's numbers because they need to hit a certain number to be able to afford the next place.
Again, that's why you want to talk to, let's say if you walked into your bank, they're not going to be able to tell you, hey, if you sold your place for X amount, this is how much you would have, this is what you could buy for. I sit with sellers and buyers all the time just saying, hey, yeah, you know what, you could cut it by 25,000, you still get everything you want, and it's dealt with today. And that's where, like, that is the support you want from someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we work with banks, we love them, but they're not going to give you advice. They're essentially order takers. Now, if you want, of course, we're tooting our own horn. Have a competent mortgage advisor to plan, your strategies on, like, here's a perfect case I want to share with you, where both Alex and I are dealing with several cases like this right now, where people are having trouble selling, but they do have quite a bit of equity in their home. So they didn't buy in the last 3 or 4 years. If they did, there's not enough equity. Someone who've owned for quite some time, they're looking to upgrade. They can't sell, so they can't move, essentially. But what we proposed is taking equity out of their current place by refinancing. And if the numbers work, They can pull the equity out of their current place. What they did is used it as a down payment for the next property. The next property they're buying, whatever they're buying, it's on sale. Everything's on discount, so they're getting a deal. In the meantime, they're turning that existing property into a rental. And they're able to buy the next place on discount, and they're able to defer the sale on the current home till the market conditions improve. It could be a year, it could be 2 years. So here's the way that we're able to do that.
I helped someone last year do this, and they were selling a more expensive house. It was about 2.4 million, but they were going to buy a new place at 1.3 on the water. Like this place never showed up. It was a probate sale, and they called it like, Alex, we need to get this place. Like we're dying for it. So okay, well we can take some equity from your place and everything. And so luckily we had time to set up a home equity line of credit on their current house, but they would look at selling maybe in 6 months. We got everything set up. We're able to buy it. Now they did try and sell their other house at that time. The market just wasn't for it. They got offers around 2.1, 2 million. And we looked at it like, that just like your house is worth more than that. Like we know it's worth more than that. They waited till the spring this year. They got to sell at 2.4 million. If they could have sold at 2.1 million, even if we account for the interest that they had to pay, it made them $200,000 more. And that's where like, if this is properly done, like you can actually be making money either on the buy side for saving, and we're not even accounting for that place they bought at 1.3, they could sell it for 1.5 now. If we added that, they save $400,000. And that's where there's ways to do it. Now I've looked at other ones for people. It's like, whoa, like if we do this, you are in the hole. This is not going to be good for you.
Yeah, in this situation, my client she owned her condo free and clear, and it was kind of on the west side of Vancouver. It was worth about 1.1 million-ish. But realtor was talking to me, current market conditions probably won't sell for like 950. And she's like, there's no way I would sell it for 950 today. So, but she wanted to get a laneway home. And in Vancouver, there's some properties now where the developers have been able to stratify a single detached home and stratified the whole thing, and then the laneway home could be sold separately. Now, I didn't know that this was like a law across the city yet, not quite, but individual properties have been able to do it, and there's more and more popping up. So the townhouse was 1.4, but in a regular healthy environment, when it is like a seller's market, that townhouse or laneway home was probably 1.5, 1.6, and she really wanted it. I'm like, you know what? That's a pretty good deal. For the rest of you folks living in the rest of the world, 1.4 sounds like outlandish, but in our part in Greater Vancouver, it's actually nothing. So, we're just talking about relative. Yeah, it's so off. Like, man, if you're talking about somebody like 1.4 in Alabama, holy crap, you're buying a freaking estate, right? Whereas, 1.4 won't get you much in Greater Vancouver. Anyways, I digress. Let's bring it back to you. So that 1.4, where she was able to get, same situation as your client, Alex, we're able to get a line of credit on that property and use that line of credit funds. Oh, and she did have the money in her own savings. Like she had a lot of investments from early inheritance stuff. She had like, $2-3 million in the bank. She didn't really need to do this, but her investments were doing really well in the market. So she didn't want to cash it. So she took a line of credit. The line of credit is prime plus half or whatever it is. It's what is that? That's like 5%. But her investments were doing like 10, 15%. She was okay paying that 5% on the line of credit. So she was saying, I wanted to let money work for me. So we set her up a line of credit on her place, use that line of credit money to buy that laneway, and then she took on a smaller mortgage on the laneway. Now, eventually she does want to sell that condo, but right now is not the best time. We all know that. So hang on to it, converting into a rental, and sell it at a later time. So we're essentially deferring the sale, but using the equity to be able to take advantage of the buy right now. So there's a lot of people in situations like this right now. Do consider it. Now, we're not saying it's going to work every time. The numbers need to work. There needs to be enough equity, and you need to be able to qualify for it.
Yeah, and you
But
do have to remember
we,
one thing that you have to remember, and I always like when I tell people like, "Oh, I could do that." It's like, hey, you have to remember you have a payment on the new place and you have a payment on your other place. Like if you don't rent it, you have to cover all those costs, and that's where it's just really laying everything out. Again, we go back to you can always qualify for something. There's options to qualify, but what's it going to cost you? And that's really what you need to see. For some people, it works out amazing. They get a lot of control, they get to sell when they want. They get to do other stuff. They get deals. For other people, it's no bueno. Can't do it. It's going to cost you too much money.
yeah, I mean, we've always said the best time to buy is in a down market, and right now it's a down market. So, um, if you're able to swing it and do this way and buy, and defer the sale, 5 years from now, you're gonna look back and be like, "I'm glad I made that decision."
Yeah.
When everyone was telling me no, like the noise, the friends, the family saying, "Oh, don't buy right now," is nothing. This is when you want to buy. Warren Buffett said, you need to run into the fire. Like when people want to run away from a fire, you run into the fire. It's like it goes against human psychology. The same thing happens when it comes to like investments too. They always say like the best time to buy is when the market is kind of tanking or going. This is when you buy things on discount and you do the dollar cost averaging kind of thing, right?
Well, I mean,
And then
we had Matt Beckett on, investment advisor, and the way that he broke it down for people is when you go into the grocery store and you see that thing that's 50% off, you go and buy it. You're like, I got to get it. It's 50% off. But when you see the stock market, a home price down 30 to 50%, you're like, I'm going to wait. And it's just like, why? And that's where stocks, I'm a little, my brain is not attuned to it as well. And that's why I have an advisor. But real estate, when I see a deal and it's lower, I'm like, this is a deal for me and I'm getting it.
yeah, yeah. So, folks, that was it. We wanted to share some success stories that we've had. I've actually done several since I last talked about it. And when I mentioned it to some realtors and some clients, they're like, "That's actually a great idea. Let's see if we can look into this." And the numbers worked out, and we've repeated this process like several times now, and for myself and for you too. So
Yeah, and
there's opportunities out
yeah,
there.
letting people line up, and especially we have another one that someone in a neighborhood, especially it's in the Vancouver area. It's a townhome that there's not another one that's come up for sale in the last 5 years. Hasn't come up in 5 years. These people, they've been wanting to buy it. It's where their family is. They were not going to be able to sell their place in time, and that's how you get it set up. And that's where sometimes it comes down to price, but there's also places where people want to live, and that's why you want those options.
Absolutely. And folks, if you are doing this, we do always suggest don't wait till you find the property to refinance. Have the money ready to go, because it sounds logical, it logically makes sense from a layperson perspective, but from the financing side, it becomes a nightmare to try to make an offer and refinance something at the same time. So from the always have it set up beforehand. That makes it so much easier and smoother when you're like lenders want to see that you have the money ready to go, not that you're in the process of doing it. There's yeah, it can create like logistical nightmares on our end.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts, Alex? What's going on rest of the week for you?
I mean, we did some Thanksgiving dinner last weekend, but we got Thanksgiving this weekend, so gonna hang out with some family. Try and take it easy, to be honest. Do some stuff around the house. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, for ourselves, we don't have any plans for Thanksgiving. We have bunch of family that went to Mexico for the week. We couldn't join them, but yeah, just ready to grind away business. It's finishing off the year strong. You and I talk offline, a lot of ideas, but I'm like, my mind is gonna explode if I do every single thing. It's like maybe I should just institute one new thing a month. This is for folks of you in business, or you just want to make any life changes. Just do one new thing at a time per month. That way it's,
And I mean,
you get used to the new habit and it's sustainable.
and you also don't even know, like if you try something, like I find a lot of people try things maybe 100 times and they think, I didn't get anything from it, didn't work. Until you've tried that thing 1,000 times at minimum, I mean, to me, it's even more than that. You do not know that it's not broken. Just trying something one time and be like, I didn't get any clients from it. I didn't do good on that. you have to keep trying over and over.
Yeah, like just like anything, you have to be consistent with anything. If you want to see change, it doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, measured change that
That's something like
new
even
habits that consistently see something.
the podcast. I mean, we're over an hour, a year here, Alex, and we are in the top 2% of podcasters because most people start it and they cut off after 10 episodes and they never do it again. And that's where it's
Yeah.
consistency that really, I think in any business, consistency and communication, that is all that's needed. You could actually be bad at your job, and if you can be consistent and communicate properly, you will do better than other people.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to mention before wrapping up here is there's been some people that have reached out to us for our help because they've been listening to the pod. So for folks of you listening, thank you for listening. We'd love to grow our community. And yeah, we just want to provide advice, talk about the market, what's happening, how it affects you and I. It affects Alex and myself. It'll surely affect you as well. So we're here to kind of grow the community, have a good conversation, and just provide value for you in your future and such. So on behalf of Alex Shanks, I'm Alex Pang. Thanks for tuning in to episode 58 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. We'll see you next time.
Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to follow us. Please give us a 5-star rating. You can even send us an email because we want to know what you guys want to hear about. That's what we're here for. Reach out anytime.